So great to have you back, Warren, for the second time on this podcast. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Great to be back. How are you? How's Mexico?
Matt, it's always good here. I'd love to say that the sun never stops in Mexico. It's actually been piss and rain the last week, on and off. So gotta be transparent for the viewers who think that Tulum is a tropical paradise all the time. It's a tropical paradise most of the time,
Yeah,
but you get the odd drizzle, shall we say? So
yeah,
man, yeah. What's up? How are you? I see you're in a new gaff. How's the new gaff?
yeah. So it's fairly cool so far. I moved in last Friday, so it is now Sunday night. It's quite late on Sunday night, and I moved in last Friday. It's just along the quays. It's by actually the Tree Arena. And yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely apartments. It's a two-bedroom, but the second room is relatively small. I was considering another apartment across the way with a friend, and it just wasn't going to turn out. And so this room here, like, there's no wardrobe space. You could kind of squeeze a chest of drawers, but the double bed basically took up the whole room. So I got them to take out the double bed, and I've set it up as like a home office, which is great. Got my new stand-up desk, and I'll start to fill it out with shite, motivational shit all around the walls. Have the digital marketing specialist, which is a whiteboard. Once you get a whiteboard, you're pretty much good to go in digital marketing. But yeah, no, delighted to be here, to be honest with you.
Awesome, man. Get a David Goggins poster and put it up above your bed.
I actually have some of his merch, but yeah, no, I will. I know he wouldn't be one. I feel like he'd hate if you had his poster, So you have to respect what he wants if you're gonna fucking follow him.
Yeah. I'm not a motivator, man.
Sound like a straight bitch when I listen to that motherfucker. So if you ever have a hard time out there, tape yourself. Listen to what kind of bitch you're being. Stay hard.
He's nuts. He's nuts. Funny story. When I was working in Sports Direct, what do you mean, 2017-ish? I remember I was listening to audiobooks on the way in. One of the old fellows, when you work retail, there's always the people who are just there, and they're regulars. They're there for 10 years, whatever. They're good at their job, and they're much better than me because it's their job. I'm there to take the piss, basically. But I was working more shifts just to get a bit more money, which I was just going to blow on booze or whatever anyway. But I was working a bit more shifts, and I remember coming in, and one of the guys was like, "What the hell? You listen to an audiobook?" And I was like, "Yeah, I listen to audiobooks." And he was like, "Who's this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's David Goggins. It just came out of this audiobook." And he was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Janet, get a load of this." Who also were in Sport Direct. Now they're lovely, but they were like, "What the fuck?" And they were like, "Who the fuck is this bloke you're listening to?" Right? And then I remember about 6 months later, David Goggins put up a post, and he liked it. And I was like, it's just such a funny thing of like when it catches up then to what it's like in Ireland, to kind of the local mind, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's brilliant now, isn't it?" And I'm like, "You man, 6 months ago you were like, that's fuck that you're listening to that," and now I'm like, yeah, of course he's got a brilliant story. What was really fascinating about that book is the second time I listened to it, we were in San Diego. Now I'm not sure if you've ever read the book, but I was on the way into work, and David Goggins was talking about Hell Week.
Yeah.
Struggle with it.
And we were looking at the lads doing Hell Week.
As he's talking about it,
yeah,
I'm entering the beach where he's done it. And I've come from listening to this book in a small town in Ireland to now seeing, and I'm like, look, it's only just an audiobook, whatever, but I'm looking at it going, whoa, I didn't know this was connected. I never thought that's where it was. So it was really cool full circle, because I just decided to pick it up again, but it's fantastic. I'm going to try. He has his four times 48, I think it is. Every 4 hours you run 4 miles for 48 hours. So he's doing it this year on the 28th of March, I think it is. So I'm going to give that a go for a charity when it comes around to it. But yeah, he's a machine. He's off topic completely. Weird start to what we're going to talk about, but machine.
Well, it has some sort of relevance because he's all about being relentless, doing things that suck, because on the other side of suffering is greatness. What we're going to talk about today is a bit about your work, and then some lead generation strategy, because lead generation there's some suffering involved in that, or maybe you can prove me otherwise because you're the expert here. So tell me a little bit about what you're working at now and your role in lead generation.
Yeah, absolutely. So
first of all, actually, just explain what lead generation is.
Okay, so essentially the way I kind of explain it to people is you put up some sort of content. So it's top of funnel, okay? So I'll say put up a post on Facebook that will say anything of the sorts of qualifying someone. Okay, so it might say for the dentist or clients, for example, might say, you know, are you looking for the perfect smile? Are you looking to regain your dental or your confidence? Are you looking little things where it's asking a question and probing them in the first line to immediately qualify them? And what the goal is of this text or whatever the content is, it will be to take them into the funnel. Okay. Now, a lot of people.
Okay, so what's a funnel?
Exactly. So a lot of people hear funnel and they think very much so, if they have any sort of knowledge about digital marketing, they think click funnels, they think stuff like that, right? Funnel is essentially, you know, if you have a water supply coming down and you have a cup that you want to fill, you'll get a funnel. And it's a way to get everything in like this and channel it down a path that you want. So you control the path, you control the journey that these people are going to go on. It doesn't need to be complex. It can be very simple of a Facebook lead form. It's its own software. You don't need to make your own website. So you take them in and they apply and you get their contact details. And then there's a range of softwares you can use to, for example, immediately text that person. So someone has just filled out information because they said, yeah, they read the text, they read the copy that I wrote to try to persuade them of, is this the time for you to go to this dream outcome you have? Like, think about it. How long have you been getting the pictures going and not smiling properly? Regain that confidence back. What was life like before when you had that? Trying to sell them that outcome, that dream outcome in the text, and then funneling them. The only goal is just to get the contact information and being very clear of that's where I'm pushing them into. So that's copywriting that's involved with it. But you get them into the funnel, you get their information, and then there's a couple of different things that might be done. But for example, they'll just be contacted, and when they are contacted, they'll be booked in, which takes them further down the funnel because you might send them resources. You might say, look, it's a fee, whatever, and they can say come in for a consultation. After the consultation, for example, then they might say, look, I'm not willing to go forward, but 2 of the 6 that were originally booked in go forward, and they'll translate into obviously revenue earned for the practice, for example. So it's just taking them through a process, and the concept of a funnel really is so that you can control the journey as opposed to kind of trying to pull things and get at it. You can create it and then you can craft it, and then it means you can kind of efficiently work on it and try to perfect the system. That can seem really complicated, but it can be a simple structure of Facebook post to lead form that Facebook already provides, and then just see the number, call the number. It doesn't need to be this crazy thing. Some people make landing pages, so they'll make a specific website for it. They'll go quite complex. That can work wonders, but it doesn't need to be really complex. It can be really simple. And quite often I'll keep it as simple as I can, because for me, what I've noticed is that over the last while, especially with Facebook, broad targeting is really for paid ads and what they want you to do, which is weird because you would expect that surely leaving or doing almost less work wouldn't make sense. But the work is done in the copyright, it's done in the text, or it's done in the content, realistically, and then it's the systems after you get people's information. Broad targeting at the moment on Facebook ads is basically what works best. And it makes a lot of sense in hindsight, you know, for lead generation with it, you're just basically leveraging Facebook's algorithm, which I don't know how many billions they spend on it a year, but it's arguably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful in the world. So of course, that's how they make their money. Of course, it's going to work when you give it all the power. Because that's what Broad does. Broad just basically says, okay, you do this Facebook, and it goes, okay. And you can have 3 days where nothing happens, and you go, right, I'll turn this campaign off, and just before you do it, done, flies off. You're getting amazing results, and then you look to kind of iron out efficiencies and inefficiencies. So that's a bit of a long story short of what I would synopsize funnels, lead generation, and stuff like that. And if you want to dig a bit deeper, and I can kind of explain, and then we can maybe go over, if you would like, what I would say to people, how I kind of started off, how I kind of fell into this part of it.
Yeah, I want to tell you how, I want you to tell how you got started in lead generation.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I don't really, can you still hear me? Yeah, I don't really love lead generation. It's more so one of those things, and even for dentistry, it's something that I've really been instilling back in myself recently of, this is what I want to achieve in this space or other spaces. It's not just dentistry, it's other lead gen clients. But for me, I started off doing some projects on Upwork. It would have been 2017, I think it was, around Sports Direct, as I was mentioning. And it was because I was trying for 2016-ish to 2017, trying to find ways to make money online. Fell for Ty Lopez. To be fair, I don't think I fell for it. I paid $67 for a cool program, and he got me into reading. So you can't really fall for that for 67 quid. Tried a couple of different programs, SEO, things like that. Never really went anywhere with them. And I could never get a job online. Like, I could never make money. And I was like, I'm never going to figure this out. And then one day in Sports Direct, I was quite good at selling upsells. So I was actually ranked the best in Ireland for upsells for the period where I was actually really trying, basically. It was about 4 to 6 or 8 weeks.
What is
so
it?
basically what that is upsells is basically I have a shoe and I sell you an insole, a shoe care kit, all these extra things, right? Or a specific shoe that I know will make me more commission. So once I kind of figured that out, that people were doing that, and they made it competitive, they put the kind of numbers on the chart. That's when I started pushing it. Now, I think within a couple of weeks, I got to like the first in Ireland, and that's the Drogheda store, which is not the biggest store. So there's no reason why, compared to Dublin store, there's no reason why I was going to be up there. I wasn't working mad hours. They weren't giving me any hours. But then I kind of went after about 4 to 6 weeks. I never really got any positive feedback for it. It was kind of weird. And then I ended up going away, and this was in like May to kind of June, July. I went away in August, and when I came back, I was like, whatever. I just didn't respond well to how they kind of tried to give me encouragement about it. Just there really wasn't anything there. But that made me go, I knew I could sell things. That was easy. Didn't have to try it all. It's so natural to me. Why don't I just try selling myself on a job post? So I phrased things more so. I've gone to a conference, and that's where I like met Gary V afterwards. I waited ages afterwards to talk to him for a bit. So I like put that picture in and said I really highlighted it. I stretched it, and it was still the truth, but it was stretched. But that straight away, 2 clients basically straight away, and I was like, whoa. Now, what I had now was clients, and I had something that was working. I didn't have habits, and I was only trying to figure out skills. So the habits is where it kind of messed me over, because my current habits at the time were just go out 3-4 times a week if you can, get blackout drunk, and just waste yourself away. So that was always going to kill anything I was trying to do, because that came first. And look, there was issues there, whatever, that's a story for a different day. But just by getting started and keeping the kind of mentality of like, I'll figure this out eventually, slowly over time, I do a project here, project there. I started to do something with a friend of mine. I kind of lose confidence, regain confidence. Started to do something with a friend of mine, and straight away we got results. We signed a client for, I was going to pitch him a low amount, and I just doubled it in my head for no reason. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, what's going on? And we were like, this is amazing. We fell apart because now we didn't still have skills. We still didn't have habits, which I think are 2 massive kind of pillar stones you need. So long story short, that goes on for a while. And eventually I went to San Diego, and I'd left the sports direct job then. So I always had that kind of to depend on for cash, and the projects were kind of a bit extra. But I was always wasted. I never had any money. So we went to San Diego, and obviously had a brilliant time. We went on J1, that was 2019. And when I was there, a client, I was like, I'm going to do this when I go home, I think. I'm either going to drop out of college, I'm going to do this, right? So I was kind of taking the piss in college. And I said, I'll give it a go. So I made the current agency I have right now in like September 2019 in college in the library. Like, I remember at the time, like just making a website and buying a domain was such a fucking like, this is hard work. Even though, because I didn't know anything. So long story short, I kept going at it. And then realistically, I got a Christmas job then, because I said, look, there's no shame in getting some money in. It doesn't matter. So I got a Christmas job then. And I worked hard, took as many shifts as I could, saved it all I could while trying to plan what I'd do, what price models. I ended up getting the first client in the dentistry space properly in 2020, I believe it was, February.
And how did you land that client?
So that was cold messaging on Facebook. And these were strategies that I heard. And what I would do sometimes is that I might give something a go in a small flurry. Result sometimes in a small flurry. Now, I mightn't follow up, and now I kind of know where you have to systemize things. You can't just do a small flurry. You have to build the systems. But I didn't know really at the time. So I started on a free trial with this guy, and I was like, oh, God, I don't think this is going to work. And there's so many days where you're like, what are you doing? Because it's hours of not knowing what you're doing. So you're almost sitting around, because I was really poorly disciplined. Not that I'm amazing now, but I'm much better. I had no real skills or anything like that. I had some experience with it, but it was more just the confidence. And basically, long story short, we got some good results. I was going off, I was doing this free content, and practicing. Kerry said, yeah, we'd love that. So I just got the train down to Kerry. And on the way, he called me the free trial. He was like, wow, this is fantastic. We're getting amazing results. Now, I don't even know if he got amazing results. I think the report was wrong, to be honest with you. But it didn't matter. That look I got gave me so much confidence then to be like, oh, I can do this. Now, that was February 2020. So a month later, everything stopped anyway. So getting kicked off with paused regardless. And there was a couple of, and they're all different niches, by the way. So then the summer that year, 1 month, I just went, you know what? I'm going to set up, I'm going to do 10 outreaches a day or something like that, right? And I made a sheet. was like, right, I'm just going to go through this every day, and I'm 10 outreaches on Instagram, 10 outreaches on this. I'm just going to try to be consistent every day, and 10 upwork proposals sent. And then by the end of the month, it was like getting to like potentially 3 to 4-ish K in revenue, and I was like, whoa, this is fucking. I've gone from 0 to out of nowhere. I'm like, this is brilliant. And then I got like a kind of a side job as well on top of that. An online thing was a bit of account management. So I was getting up near 5, and I was like, whoa, in dollar wise. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But now it's a bit spread too thin and whatever. I kind of stayed around that between 3 to probably 5 or 6 then until coming into Mexico, kind of which would have been the start of 2021. And then pissed about a little bit, but was niche down really, trying to focus into dentistry, because I was taking everybody who basically had a credit card, and I was slowly going up in revenue, but I was taking anyone who could. So I had some clients that were like 500 quid a month to a couple thousand, and there's no business there. That's just an employee. So basically, then what I did was that I bought into a mastermind, and one of the first things that was said to me was, you need to just have one thing. You need to have one thing. So that was February, March of last year, and then it was kind of scaled into one thing. So I did that coming up to summer. Then I traveled a lot in summer, so I kind of got, worked hard and did what I had to do. And I had a couple of other gigs as well. And then as time kind of passed after that, then into coming September, say of last year, that's when I really was like, right, let's give dentistry a real whack. And that's where I've seen a lot more growth over the last couple of months. The growth from say October to December was massive compared to before. It was probably a couple of 100% growth. And then that's continuing. Clients are staying, we're getting consistent results. Now it's all about systemizing outreach and maximizing to continually grow. So now I'm at a very healthy business point of view. But all that shite beforehand, there's so many days where you're like, what am I doing? I remember talking to some people and they're like, you'll figure it out. And I'm like, yeah, right. No clue. And to me, when you think like people are like, oh, you're going to have the hard days. Like I thought the hard days would have looked cool. Mine was always like me just not knowing what to do. But to me, I was like, that couldn't be it. Maybe I'm just wrong here. But then when I look back, I go, oh yeah, that's just what it was. You just keep showing up, and I was probably not as good as a lot of people, but better than some because I stuck at it and eventually started to figure it out. And now I'm in a blessed position to be able to say, yeah, I'll move into there, I'll do this, let's get that. And let's kind of scale up properly. And in October, I formed correctly the LLC for the dentistry to just focus on that completely, and keep the other lead generation clients that aren't dentistry, but then scale that up completely. So that's kind of moving everyone's accounts over now this month. And then just a lot of people kind of were looking to start at the start of this year. So it's kind of getting them all going. The thing with dentistry is quite often the start time can be 3 to 6 weeks. It's just, they're just very busy people. I'm not sure if anyone knows, and how it basically works is there tends to be a principal dentist who will be most likely the most skilled dentist, but they'll also own the practice, meaning that person is incredibly busy. And it's like a manager who also owns the place but works extra hours and does the hardest jobs, because quite often you work in a place that the manager doesn't do the hard job. They're doing the hard job in terms of delegating around, but they're not really laboring. These guys and women are laboring. So they can be quite hard to get a hold of, stuff like that. But for me, it's been kind of systemizing it. Now I found kind of other people would know. He focuses mainly on teaching people to just go one offer.
Can you just repeat that, because it broke up a little bit for like 3 seconds?
Yeah, basically for anyone to spend. If you said, if I want to learn this, where do I go? I'd say go on to Alex Hormozi's YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've been looking at him recently. He's very good.
Just watch him. He's brilliant. He's someone who is so clear that he has just worked his ass off for about 5 to 10 years, and then now is like, all right, I'll make content, and everyone's like, whoa, because everybody else is making content as they go along, and they're spending hours each day making content, whereas this guy's just coming out of nowhere with this, like, he speaks brilliantly, his tonality is perfect. Like, you can tell when he's doing presentations, you're like, he could sell anything to me.
Yeah.
Time it's so clear that he's so mastered that skill set.
His opening is so good. It's like, hey, everybody, my name is, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Alex Hormozi. I own a company that does about $85 million a year in sales, and I've got nothing to sell you.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And he's got nothing to say.
He's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And he lists that his business model is basically, I want you to get better, and then you'll want to work with me, and I'll be able to then scale you at that stage, because that's the stage where it's worthwhile for him to scale, and he'll make more money, but you'll make more money. So it's brilliant. And he's an interesting character. you never know how these kind of internet people go. But yeah, that's who I would point in as a recommend. That was a really long way to kind of happen for me in lead generation. What I probably want to go into is, unless you have any questions there.
Yeah, I just want to know, so with your clients, what's the exact service that you provide them?
Okay, so it's lead generation, but lead generation today means nothing. You say lead generation to somebody, say, what the hell are you talking about? You obviously have to frame your offer in a clear way. So for them, it will be the likes of, say, adding 5 to 10 new implant or Invisalign patients to your practice every month.
Yeah.
And then potentially a guarantee you don't pay if we don't get results. You know, to give satisfaction guarantee so they know what they're doing. For that, then there's other ways that you can kind of sell it a bit better. But for that, then it's right, like going implant or Invisalign. It's because they're the most expensive offers that the practice will tend to sell. An implant case could be worth £30,000. An implant case is generally worth £1,000. That means that if you have £2,000 to spend on ads, you get 200 people in. You don't need to sell that many of them. But if you were selling something that was £300, you'll have to sell 10 times more just to recoup the same amount. So it makes it a lot easier because now you're going kind of higher ticket. You can spend more because you can justify the expenditure. It's a lot easier to track. It's easier to get more budget, and it's easier to charge a higher service because you're providing more. And for me, what I've really been working on recently is kind of improving my offer so that hopefully if I improve the offer, then I'll be able to not only charge more, but obviously provide a better service. So that's kind of what I've been working on behind the scenes week, coming into this week. But that's basically it. It's the higher ticket services they sell. I will get people on the phone who want that. All we need is your team to book them in for a consultation. And once they get in, then it's the practice's situation. Before we go to work with someone, we'll obviously qualify. So what we'll do is have a qualifying call where we'll find out if it makes sense. So say if a practice says, yeah, our conversion rates are 30%. I would be like, okay, so that's marginally off what we used to have, or we're used to having, meaning that the leads to you aren't going to be as worthwhile. So if there's someone else that would make more sense to work with, because obviously you're kind of limited as well, it doesn't make sense just to take everybody on at all times. So firstly, nobody would want to work with that because how could you have a system set up for that? And then secondly, it doesn't make sense for you. You want to give the best service because if you can give a good service, word of mouth comes in as well as also, you know, providing good service. You're going to keep your client, because if it's a retainer system, then lifetime value is what's most important. It's not how much do they pay this month, it's how long do they normally stay for, what's that worth to you, which is a massive thing that I was looking at for kind of last year, some clients in particular. And I was like, well, how did I get that client? And I looked at the methods and I was like, God, the ROIs that I did for that method was huge. But I didn't realize, because in my head I just equated the spend for the first month, but I forgot that they stayed for the whole year. One client in particular stayed for 8 or 9 months, and then they just literally changed there because they wanted to go for a different approach. They're in London, which is a very competitive market, and I said, they looked at time. We'd had some very successful campaigns over the time, but the open day, it was very last minute that they did it. I gave it the best we could, but there just wasn't enough time. And we needed a bit of prep for that, about 1 or 2 months. I had 5 days, so it was never going to work. But gave it the best we could, and it still got results, but it just didn't make sense to keep going with that relationship after that. It was just a turmoil, unfortunately. But with that method alone, I spent probably 300 to 400 acquiring them, but they were then worth to me 2,000% more than 2,000% ROIs basically for the year. Like, it's what they were actually worth over the whole year. Their lifetime value to me was huge, and the profits, like, so it was like, why didn't I keep with that method? It's because I only looked at that first month and said, well, the other one is better ROIs first month. So that was something I had to kind of realize. Oh, pay more attention to the lifetime value. Don't just focus on what they're worth to you that month, which goes back to like what a lot of people are saying to me, which is something that I messed up on. These things happen, you know, you kind of have to figure out things with the process. But that was a big thing that I would say to everyone. If you can get into the habit of being analytical early on, it's going to really help you. But if you're the type of person who you'll say, brilliant, I'm going to make 9 fancy spreadsheets, 16 different tabs to look at different versions, and you'll just kind of do that instead of actually doing the work, then I would encourage obviously not. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like from kind of that side of things.
And what are some of the, because you said that you used a method and obviously it worked out for you over the longer term rather than what you thought immediately. So what are some cutting edge Warren G lead generation strategies that that you use? Well, I was just about to say that you use, but that can be applied in a multitude of different sales roles, spanning different industries.
Okay, so the one I mentioned a second ago, I bought a course from a guy called Cold Email Wizard. He breaks it down brilliantly, okay? And it's about cold email, but it's all the ways to do it correctly. And the concept is that you get a first line writer in, okay? So you can write the line yourself, or you can hire someone, and you pay these
to write the headline of the email.
No, the first sentence of the email.
Oh, the first sentence of the email.
So the headline might be like question or like something to kind of entice them a bit, because they'll see the first sentence too. And that has to be personalized, because not only will it get a better open rate, you also need to do it for spam reasons and GDPR reasons. You can't send the mass emails, as far as I know, if you're scraping emails, because that's how you're going to get the people you want to talk to. So say you're in the tech industry and you want to work with new SaaS companies. Okay, so just
what does SaaS mean for those who don't know?
It's basically going to be a software company. So something that, like, if they wanted, I suppose could you make Google Docs a SaaS company? If there wasn't Google and it was just Docs, it could technically be a kind of a SaaS product. It's just some sort of software, basically.
Yeah.
There's more complicated, but that's just that. And you could then you could filter using LinkedIn, for example. Filter by the profession of like founder in the, say you're going for the info space for SaaS or info products. You could filter all that in LinkedIn, and then you can use tools that cost like $40 a month, and they will scrape a list, and then you can pay a really cheap amount to clean them, right? So now you have a cleaned version, which is people who now have actual email addresses, and now you get the first lines. But to do this and abide by basically the rules, you have to write a personalized message, because if you just spam, it's spam. If you just send a mass message, everyone it's spam. You can put them in and do that, but I would never advise that. You won't even get good open rates. But that method in particular, something that I'm going to be looking into kind of adding into the repertoire again, is because he's obviously always expanding on his courses. It's relatively cheap. It's a couple $100. I got it for really cheap because he was only starting it. I think I paid like 70 or something.
What's his name?
Cold Email Wizard on Twitter.
Cold Email Wizard.
Yeah, there's this thing. So I deleted my Twitter account about 18 months ago.
Yeah. 12
to 18 months ago, and I made an account, and I came across what's known as Money Twitter, and Money Twitter is hilarious. But it's so much better because, oh god, Twitter was so toxic in a small town. Like, so many people just trying to slag other people off, trying to get like fake status. Like, I don't think they understand that like no one gives a fuck outside of your small town, and it means nothing anyway. But when you're in it, you're like, well, this is everything. So when I got onto that, then I was like, wow, this is so much less toxic, because nobody was complaining about stupid shit. Everybody was trying to better themselves or giving out new, and it was all business stuff. So I was like, this is great. And you kind of have to be careful of like the search tab and stuff like that. But that's where he is. I'll send you over his stuff if you want after this, or I'll have a look, see if I can kind of post stuff for you. But for that, then also in combination with the likes of video looms. So what I do at the moment is
say that again. Video what?
Looms. Okay, so I used to use Loom, which is a free service. Now I use this thing called Vidyard. And because at the end of the Vidyard, you can add in that there'll be a book call. Yeah, Vidyard, like video. So at the bottom it will say like book your call now. So straight away you can send them to a call. So what I'll do is Facebook organic marketing in kind of groups with dentists and stuff like that. I'll just post value posts. I basically trying to help people out, and then if people respond, or you kind of get into messages and how you would network to someone, or how you would just talk to someone. You're not trying to sell up front. You're just trying to get on the phone. And if it makes sense, you can kind of propose something to them.
Yeah.
But quite often what I'll do is I'll say, hey, would you mind if I make a quick video going over X, Y, and Z that you just asked for? So, for example, I had a sales call on Friday, which I'll find out about on Monday or Tuesday if we're going ahead with them as it for a new client. He was saying basically that he had worked with a competitor who I have worked on the same kind of clients as they have. So I was able to compare our results to theirs directly, because we both had campaigns running for the same person at the same time. So I was able to make a little video where I could go in, show my ads versus their ads, how it went, what they could expect from us, have a conversation like this, just speaking to them. And it's so personalized that I think he watched like 86 or 90% of the video. it was only a 2-minute video. It only takes a couple of minutes. And it's an extension in Chrome, so you just do it quick, you have yourself ready. But that could be the difference between signing someone who could, like if that person stays for several months, say 6 months, what they would be worth in revenue for a couple of minutes of a Vidyard is like, it's ridiculous ROIs. So that's what I would encourage, using, say, cold emails or cold outreach, but backing it up with stuff like that. And
will you send me that afterwards, that Vidyard? Send me some.
Well, I tell you to go for Loom. Loom is free, and it's just as good. Vidyard, the only thing with Vidyard is it's like $15 a month, but it'll let you can kind of customize the page. You can put your logo in the top corner, and you can put this thing, and it'll let you book a call from there. And at the end of the video, it says book your call now, which is a big deal because you book a sales call, it's so much easier to sell than you know yourself. So that's what I would kind of recommend. But overall, for lead generation, like it's like the gym, I suppose. Whatever you're going to do most consistently is the best thing you can do, because if you're trying to either scale for yourself, you're trying to scale for a client, it doesn't matter. If you get a flurry of, say I was saying at the start of lead generation, I was getting a couple of results from, say, cold messages. If that gets you results and then you stop doing them, what's the point? You know, if you get 4 results in a weekend, but then you don't do it for the next 8 weeks, so now you've only got 4 results in 9 weeks. But if you do something for 9 weeks and you get 3 results, 1 result, 2 results, 0 results, 4 results, and then at the end of it you go, Jesus, I'm after getting 3 times the amount, only because you were staying consistent. Wasn't as much per weekend on an individual basis, but overall you've got a steady business scaling up. I think a big thing that people, me in particular, I never kind of grasped was that things just take time. It's a small few that go from nothing to 10K, 50K, 100K, say in the digital marketing space, a month, in a couple of months, in a month. Those people are quite often, what you'll see is it's either somebody who fluked it completely by they knew someone and they said, oh, we charged 10K and this guy knew the person's dad, and they'll take them on, and then that guy after a month goes, oh, he has no clue what he's doing, and maybe he refunds, but you never hear that. You'll never see the client interviews with the people who are selling courses. Or else there are some people who have just probably put the graft in on other stuff. So they tried, say, dropshipping. Like I tried dropshipping before. They tried a lot of all these things, and they've built up a skill set without even realizing over 2 years. And then they succeed quickly enough with something, and then everyone's like, wow, how did you do that? They put in the work. They just didn't realize that these little shit projects were going to add up into a good one. So that's what I would say really for people, if they're all looking, or if anyone's even looking, there's still obviously time to get into it. It's a huge space. I think it was, what was there, 28 billion spent on Facebook ads last year, or earned in revenue maybe. It's a huge space, and that's just Facebook. Like TikTok is blowing up, and for me it's difficult because I don't have TikTok. I don't agree with it. I think it can really get your attention because it's built fantastically for that, for getting your attention and keeping you there. So I was like, okay, I don't want this. Now sometimes you'll get me stuck on Instagram Reels and I'm like, what am I doing? But I deleted it in, I think it was 2020 May-ish. I haven't been back since, but now everyone's getting fantastic results on TikTok. So my kind of issue is that I'll have to hire someone who can make the content, because I don't kind of have that skill set, because I'm not used to it. I don't consume the content. I don't know what it will look like. Whereas there's so many people who have been on TikTok the last 2 years and would know actually how to do it, even though they've just only watched content. Maybe they make some private stuff. They could sell that as a service. They could start doing it for free for businesses. Then what you want to do is get 1 to 3 testimonials. So they do it for free for their dad's business, their uncle's friend's business. You're going to get people. It doesn't matter, right? Within the first 1 to 2 weeks, basically, when they're saying, look, you're doing a good job, because they're going to see results. It could just be likes, could be views, but they're going to see numbers. Get the testimonial straight away, right? If you get brilliant results better. You need to get it early, because if you wait a while, then they're going, right, I won't sort it out for you, John. Just give us a second. I'm just a bit busy. Get it early when they're kind of satisfied. Once you've got 3, then you can start to charge a relatively small fee, I'd say a couple of £100. I would say probably 500 maybe-ish a month if you're going to be doing some sort of services. If it's client, maybe it's just content creation. And then you can start to scale it up. And that's kind of how it comes down to, really. You just always start scaling up your prices. You include more things, give more value. Early on, you really don't know what you're pricing for. You don't. You're just throwing numbers out there and seeing what sticks, you know? So that's what I would say to people to do. Whatever you know, if you're saying, look, maybe I'll try Facebook ads, brilliant. If you know TikTok, I'd say if you get into that now, even if you fail for 6 to 12 months, it's not going anywhere by the looks of things. So you'll have a skill set built up eventually to where, because I was trying Facebook ads for months before I had anything, maybe a year or more before I had anything. So, and it was obviously underpriced then, but it's still not overpriced right now. It's still going well now if you can do it right. So that's what I would say to people is look what would suit you, look where you can get the most arbitrage. There's a, is it a Warren Buffett quote that says, it doesn't matter how hard you row the boat, it matters what boat you're in. So it's essentially, what market are you in? You know, are you in something that's completely oversaturated? Well, if you are, there's not much room for growth, even if you're going 15-hour days, I'm not going to stop. Whereas there's some people who are in a brilliant market, there's no competition, and they just kind of coast their way into a successful business because they just showed up and there was really no one else to do it. That's your man, he says, if you had one competitive advantage for what was it? A business. I don't know if he said a business or if he said a specific business. I think he did, but he said, what would it be? And he said, say you've got a hot dog stand. What would your competitive advantage be? People said like a secret sauce, ketchup, blah, blah, blah. And he said a starving crowd. He said, if you're the one hot dog stand outside a game, a football game, say, and everyone's out there coming out and it's just you there, you've got a starving crowd. That could be the worst hot dog ever, and they're still going to buy it. And that's what he's saying, is by the attention there, people who want it. If there's 100 hot dog stands and you don't know what you're doing, you're probably not going to get anything. But if there's nobody there and you go, oh, these people are coming this way, they're going to be probably hungry. They just watched a 3-hour game. I'm just going to set up shop, and some people might come to me, they might not. So that's what I would say. Really encourage people to go into spaces that aren't saturated. Like Facebook will be a bit more difficult now compared to the likes of TikTok, and Snapchat's shown a lot of success again for certain industries. But TikTok is definitely where I would say for lead generation for the future to get into for people who haven't done anything yet.
Lethal. And do you think there's a difference between lead generation for a digital service, like digital marketing, or a digital product versus selling a real world asset, such as real estate, for example? Do you think there should be a difference in approach?
Well, I've done lead generation for real estate. I did it for a Houston project for a company called Real Assets.
Okay.
Which is a development in Houston. They're a company based out of New York, and they're literally it's real assets. It's tangible assets, and you invest in them. And I was actually helping them with an NFT project the other week as well. But for them, like it's again lead generation. You're just getting the people who are interested. And what we did for them was basically, and they're led by a lot of I think the head Suresh of the company, I believe he's in the American Association of Indian Physicians. So he's an Indian physician. So he has his niche of his most regular clientele, which is Indian physicians across America. So he had a list of them, and we uploaded the email list, and then we not only targeted them on Facebook, we targeted lookalike audiences, okay? So people who matched most of their characteristics. And we ran lead gen forms. We got the information of them, and then the team in Real Assets will call them up and ask them about their interest. And you might get the contact details, but that's not really that's not where the money's made. The money's made in the follow-ups, in the proposals that are sent over, and the quality of the project. But you can use then the lead generation to help with the start of the process. But you'll never really sell. You'll never sell a $500,000 investment on just a random ad. How are you going to convince someone? You know, you'd have to have crazy authority. But you might get that first phone call, and then you can start your process. So it can be really beneficial for the start of real world things, but you can't go into it kind of expecting to sell things, because you do need to build up trust with this, you know. And in say real estate, you can't.
Can you say that one again? You broke up a little bit.
I was just saying that it's very difficult to build up that trust with the end consumer without speaking to them. Yeah. And when you're making, especially for people who are making sizable investments of their net worth, portfolios, whatever, they kind of want to get a feel of this person is going to take the money, you know? So say for you with your clients, it's a lot of time you spend, sometimes I'd say, talking to people about just their life. How are you getting on? Good to hear that. Glad that person's going to college. Brilliant. Can't wait till you come back. And then it comes down to, here's what we have in Tulum. Oh, you're interested. If you didn't build up a rapport and a relationship that might have started with a cold email, might have started with a Facebook ad, you'll never get there. But it's only going to be the intro points to help you out with the process. It's not going to be the seller. You're going to have to still do the work. And that's why I think lead generation is great, because you can sell high ticket items by kind of leveraging the fact of you're going to get the leads. And say you get 100 leads and you need to raise like 2 million in investment, and 4 people go through it, but they actually put together 1.2 million. Like, you might only spend a couple of grand to get those 100 leads at maximum, but they're worth huge amounts to you, but you still have to do your work. It's just you were helped by the fact of, if you didn't know where that starving crowd was, you could use lead generation to find them. So that's kind of what I would say for a real world kind of practical sense.
Okay. What do you think? I know that you don't use LinkedIn as much as you used to. LinkedIn.
I'll be posting back soon.
That's good to hear. Very good to hear. Put up that little podcast that we did last year.
I'll have to find it. Yeah.
Put that one up to see. And man, I'm interested to see what that looks like, because I remember I had to run pretty quick after that, but I never saw the video again. But for LinkedIn, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn a lot, particularly since the start of this year. I've been on LinkedIn much more frequently, and there seems to be this community of people, whether they're copywriters, SaaS or SaaS, or people who just sell LinkedIn growth. I mean, they're talking on LinkedIn about LinkedIn, which is kind of meta. There seems to be this community of people preaching building personal brand and having that as a mechanism for organic lead generation. I just want to get your thoughts on that, because that's something that I'm trying to do on LinkedIn for real estate, and I'm trying to figure out, maybe you can help me here. I'm trying to figure out, when should I talk about professional things, so things exclusively related to real estate? When should I talk about other things that I care about in life, such as philosophy, travel, anything else? Like this podcast, for example, is something I share on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
What should my approach be? And then, do you think that is an effective way of getting leads over the long term? You
know this as much as we all do. People do business with people they know, in particularly people they like. It's easy to get someone to like you when you're very personable. That's why I think there's a lot of success with these LinkedIn posts. Unfortunately, the thing with LinkedIn that I see is that it's so fake. It's so fake. There's so many people on it who are just lying through their teeth about how they feel about things, because they're trying to be corporate, and that's it is what it is. So
wait, because they're trying to be corporate, or they're being fake personal?
I would say that it's both. I would say that not being, now it's not everybody. It's just that I've noticed it uptake a lot recently over the last probably 6 to 12 months. I've noticed a lot more posts that, look, I have no problem with people posting on LinkedIn and posting like, I ran this, or I'm doing an Ironman, or, because quite often that is helpful. And what is this place? It's just a social network. It used to be like Indeed. It used to be a place where people apply for jobs. It's not. That stopped years ago. It's just this kind of weird check-in place for people who are in the corporate world. I understand. No, well, and a lot of these people are, say, friends of ours that we have who are on LinkedIn. Okay, the most classic post on LinkedIn is,
"Oh, I know what's coming. Go ahead.
Delighted to have graduated with a 2-1 from Trinity College, Dublin. Thank you so much to my professors, who they probably slagged off every second." And there's no, some people are very genuine, but there's no real honesty there in it. That's what really gets me more so. But I understand it's the game, you know. It's just, what I get with that is that I'm like, you're not actually really adding as much to it here. Like, I prefer if you put your podcast up, or if fucking Ryan Serhan put up a picture of his daughter and was like, it's great to have a day off. Like, people who are like clearly putting out good content all the time, being very professional, and they're like trying to encourage others, motivate others. That's what I like. It's this, sometimes there's this weird content that comes in that I'm like, is it you, or is it this, or is it both? What way are we going to do this here? So I would always encourage people to go personal when it makes sense. I believe, for me, I try to be like, if it feels right, say it. If it doesn't, don't, because if someone calls you out on it and then you have to say, I actually didn't think that, no one wants to be in that position. So that's what I would really say. Say what you feel, but also don't kind of fear leaving your comfort zone to post, because that's one thing that's easy to do now. I could say what you feel, and you go, grand, I don't feel like posting ever. Okay, well, you're going to affect your inflow. But again, back to what Alex Mozzie was saying, someone who's clearly way above me, focus on one channel. Don't try to do your link. And this is one thing in particular that I've really been working on recently, which is that the key to basically getting as much done as possible in a day is that you don't add on and say, look, I want to get 10 tasks done today. You say, I'm going to get rid of every other distraction and just do 2 things today. And it's actually the least amount. Like, I'm not going to cook today. I've got my meals ready, prepared. I'm working at the morning and that's done. Right? And I'm not going to do this. I'll leave that for the weekend. So you're only focused on the simple tasks. And with that, it's a lot easier then to put your brain power and focus towards getting 1 or 2 small things that will be big in the long term done, as opposed to trying to say, I got 15 things done today. And like one was like, brainstorm a LinkedIn post. Another one was like, send an email to Jim. And it's like, these are probably things you have to do anyway. You might as well have batched them together and focused on a hard task, put everything into it and try to solve that. And that would be kind of where I would think about things. If you're getting success on another platform, I think he says if you're not making between 1 to 3 million a year from one channel, there's no reason for you to go to another channel, which is a big milestone for people who are like myself or anything like that, who they're not at that level. That's 100 to 300k a month business. So if you're not doing that, why are you going to different channels to try to exhaust them too? Just focus on one, get it right, and then you can look and you've already built something. So that would be kind of what I would say for that kind of question.
Okay, final message. Lead generation tip of the day from Warren Griffin in under 1 minute. What do you have to say?
Whatever you can do as consistently as possible. So if it's the thing that worked for me when I kind of took it from nothing to whatever 3, 4, 5k was 10 outreaches a day or something like that. Whatever you can do consistently, do not beat yourself up if you don't get results within 3 days. Give yourself a month. If you can be kind to yourself, I would say to do that with your kind of mental self-talk. Realistically, you can start with that, then you can scale up to more. It doesn't need to be just that. Other than that, then I would say cold email mixed with the personalized video message. And there's so much more there that you're going to get, because now you're basically having that first conversation. They get to see you and you're building authority because they're watching you on the screen. So when they speak to you, then they know you subconsciously as the guy who was on the screen, which is weird. It's like a whole telly thing. If you see someone on TV and you see them in real life, you're like, oh, even though you might not even care about TV. So that would be my 2 kind of, one for beginners to be consistent, and then the other one for if you're looking for a method that's kind of cheap for earning you money, not for the clients, for your own business or whatever you're doing. Cold emails with the tools in particular. Cold email is a great course. You can look it up. There's a lot of things called clean leads, a couple of different kind of sources and stuff like that you can use to scrape emails from LinkedIn. You don't have to pay for Sales Navigator, but in total you could be looking at $150, $200 euro, say, a month for the service and stuff, then the rest is time. So they would be the 2 methods I would suggest. Facebook's a bit saturated, really. I mean, it's not going to be the highest ROI or it doesn't have the most arbitrage.